turn to 2 Kings 7, 3 through 7, if you will. 2 Kings, and I'm in the 7th chapter. And I'm starting in the 3rd verse. And of course, 2 Kings is found in the Old Testament. Second Kings, and we are in the 7th chapter, and I'm going to start in the 3rd verse, and I'll read through the 7th verse. And I will go ahead and begin. It says, "Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, 'Why stay here until we die? If we say we'll go into the city, the famine is there and we will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, then we die.' At dusk they got up and went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. So they said to one another, 'Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and the Egyptian kings to attack us.' So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and their donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives." May God add a blessing to the reading of his holy word. You may have your seats. Today I do not plan to talk long. I want to simply speak on the subject for a moment, the sound of victory. Now, if Elder and y'all, she is not ill. She is at home preparing. We're having a small get-together for our baby girl. Is going to turn 1, and so she is at home and yay, preparing the house in anticipation for just a little bit of cake and everything. But if she were here, she could testify that I'm telling the truth, that it is not very often that we enjoy the same television shows. I like cartoons and
me too.
And I like reruns of The Golden Girls. I love me some Cosby Show reruns and Good Times reruns, and the taste in movies is even different, because I watch all kinds of stuff that she's just like, I'm good with The Color Purple on rerun, Boy, I'll recite every line of it. So Erica, on the other hand, and she gonna hurt me when I tell y'all this, but she ain't fully delivered, because she enjoys those reality shows. So if you want to talk about love and hip hop and housewives and all of that, you can go ahead and talk to her about it, because she tell you everything that they got going on, New York and Atlanta, and this one got going on, and Stevie J and Jocelyn and all of them. How you know so much, Pastor? Well, I'm in the room when she got that mess on, so what's on there, whatever you hear will get in you eventually, and that stuff will come out. So in any case, that's her. But there's one show that we actually do agree on. Well, there's more than one, but this one in particular, it's called The Voice. Y'all heard of it?
Yes.
Y'all watch it?
Yes.
For anybody that doesn't watch it, doesn't know what it is, The Voice is a talent competition. Y'all heard of American Idol and shows like that. It's similar, but what it is, there's 4 successful singers. So you got this season, you got Jennifer Hudson on there, you got Miley Cyrus, you got Blake, and you got Adam Levine. And so they have different genres, and basically it's a show against these 4 superstars to find, recruit, and train and coach the talent that will come before them. And so what they'll do is they'll take young, aspiring, and not necessarily young, but aspiring singers under their wing, and they will coach them, give them vocal coaching, give them presentation coaching, and teach them basically how to be a superstar. And then those contestants will compete against one another, and the American public will vote to see who is the next big voice of our culture, right? And so my favorite part of the show is called the blind auditions. Yes. It's the very first thing they do. And what that is the four superstars, they have chairs that swivel, and they have their backs to, they're looking at the audience, they have their backs to the contestants. So the contestant comes out on stage, and the superstars, their chairs are just turned around. They can't see them. And whoever the contestant is, they begin to sing. They have music. It's not like American Idol. It's not a cappella. They start singing, though. And based on what the superstar hears, they will either decide to press their button and turn around and vote and try to win this person on their team, or they just stay turned around until the song is over. And I like this because often they must make a decision based on what they hear and not on what they see. The reason that I like it is what things look like play a huge role on how they are perceived. Looks can often be deceiving. And sometimes what things look like will get you caught up in an experience that's not really real. Because you've been already have a bias about what that thing is going to be like based on what it looked like. Right. But looks will have you turn in your 401k and cash that joker in at the age of 40 and move across the country. That's your retirement. And then that's what looks will do. If you're looking at a thing, sometimes the look of the thing will trick you into believing that the thing is good. And so the superstars must turn their backs and be blinded because it's not based on what they look like. It's not like American Idol. They're not looking for someone who is perfect. And sometimes if somebody comes out and they're too skinny, and everybody knows, we all have our perception on what a good singer looks like. And if they come out there and you know a good singer when you see one, or at least you think you do, and they coming out and they making singing faces and everything, you know, the uglier the face, the better they sound. And so you looking at all of that, the experience of it might hinder your judgment on what it really is. But if all you have to go on, after all, it's called the voice. If all you have to go on is the sound alone, then you're going to make a decision that is based on the sound and not the look. The story I just read from the second books of Kings is about 4 men with leprosy who were living on the outside of a city that was experiencing a famine. They were at war. And so the city itself was starving to death. They didn't have any food. And so the lepers, being lepers, they can't work. Lepers have no way of really making an income. And we're talking biblical times. Lepers a lot of times would live, and they had to live on the outside of society, on the outskirts of the city. And they would survive based on their begging and scavenging. And so a lot of times if there were leftovers and they throw them out, the lepers then would go and they get the leftovers. Or if there was people going into the city, they could holler out and say, spare something for me, you know, and they beg. And we see it all throughout the Bible. The lepers are trying to survive based on the goodwill of the people of the city. But if the entire city is without food, the first people to suffer are going to be the lepers, right? That's the first ones to go, because they don't have anything stored up. They don't have any way of making any ends meet. They don't have a way of planting any fields. They're living on the outside of a city. And so they would be the first to suffer. They had nothing. And so the lepers began to conspire amongst one another. And they said, listen, we can sit here and die, or we can go into the city and die. Or the enemy, the Arameans, we can go surrender to them. And they figured that one of two things would happen. Either they'll kill us when we get there, there, but that we ain't no worse off than where we are now. Or there's a 50-50 chance that they may take us as prisoners of war. And if they take us as prisoners of war, well, at least we'll be alive and they'll feed us. Right? So that's their thinking. And I believe that's a pretty good, logical way of thinking about it. They want to live. They want to survive. And so they say, well, at least if we're nothing else, we get some food and we'll be alive. And so the Bible tells us that the 4 lepers begin to walk toward the Aramean camp. And then the Bible also tells us that the Lord magnified the sound of their footsteps, causing the Arameans, the enemy, to hear the sound of chariots, horses, and a great army. And at the sound of the coming army, all of the Arameans, this is what the Bible says, they got up and left their camp just like it was. Which meant that they got up and they left their food behind. Which meant they got up and left their clothes behind. They got up and left their money behind. They got up and they left their shelter behind. They left their animals behind. And they fled the camp, leaving it exactly like it was. Somebody right there ought to begin to have a little tingling in your spirit, because the Bible says that the wealth of the wicked is laid up in store for the just. And we're seeing a manifestation of that in this story. But I want you to think about this for a moment. 4 lepers walking. Now, leprosy is a disease that often affects the extremities. So we're talking the feet, the hands, the fingers, the toes, the legs. Leprosy is more than just a skin disease. It's also a nerve disease. And so oftentimes lepers will, the nerves, the circulation and everything will get to the point where they'll set, gangrene will set in, and portions of them will wither away. And so oftentimes they have a problem walking. If you see pictures depicted in the Bible or on the internet, a lot of times they'll have a cane and they're draped from head to toe. And so we can just imagine lepers who don't really eat a whole lot. They're not well nourished, so they're slim, they're skinny, and you got 4 of them walking. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how much sound 4 lepers, skinny, sickly, diseased, crippled men can make. I've never heard anyone come traveling in like an army that's shuffling like this. But the Bible says that the Arameans heard the sound of a mighty army. Lepers, by looking at them, look a whole lot like defeat. And today I have a word for someone who can relate to the leper. The look of what you have is bleak. The look of the thing is failure. The look of the thing is death. And perhaps, like the lepers in the story, you have been placed in a situation where you are just going to have to take your chances. You know that if you stay where you are and keep doing what you're doing, that the outcome is not going to be good. Yet you are afraid to try something new because of the anticipation of opposition. The lepers had 2 options in their minds. They either chose, either we're going to die or we're going to live as prisoners. They expected hardship. But I have a word. Somebody needs to hear encouragement today, because although what it looks like is defeat, what it sounds like is victory. The Bible says that we walk by faith and not by sight. And God is prepared to confuse your enemy. And what you look like as frail and what you sound like as weak, God is about to confuse the enemy so you sound like a victorious army. God, hear the victory when you walk. The lepers didn't have to do anything different. They just had to keep on walking. They didn't have to jump up and down. They didn't have to do anything special. They just had to keep on walking. They didn't have to talk extra loud. They just had to keep on walking. They didn't have to manipulate the situation for themselves. They just had to keep on walking. And my word today to you is to keep on walking. You are about to walk into your blessing, and where you are expecting to fight, you're gonna find peace. Where you are expecting a closed door, God is gonna have that thing swung wide open. Where you are expecting an enemy, God is gonna make it so that your enemies have become your footstool. God is about to lift this thing wide open and leave it just for you.
Yes. I receive it.
The next time you're walking, I want you to listen for your footsteps. And then I want you to say to yourself, right there, that's the sound of victory. Every time you walk, I want you to listen to yourself. And I don't care how hard or how soft you walk. Some of us got a small gait, and some of us don't make too much noise when we walk. But I want you to just listen for it. And I want you to hit and say, that's the sound of victory. I'm walking. Next time you walk into work on Monday morning, I want you to walk in proud, and I want you to hear yourself and say, that's the sound of victory. The next time you are faced with opposition and you about to step into a situation where you feel like somebody about to take you out, somebody about to wear you out, somebody trying to take you down, I want you to listen for your footsteps and say, that's the sound of victory.
Yes.
I can imagine the enemy can't stand to hear us walk.
Amen.
Because when you are about your Father's business, the loudest sound, I'm sure, is the sound of your feet getting out of bed in the morning. That's what it should be. I want it so that the enemy knows that wherever I'm headed, my mission is to tear his kingdom down and to build God's up. And so I want him to hate the sound of my footsteps. I want the enemy to hate the sound of my... Have y'all ever had who don't like to hear folks chew? I can't stand to hear people chew. And don't you know that's the loudest thing in the room when you really don't like it? I can't stand to hear folks. And that thing become, if I catch it, because if I'm not paying attention, I don't hear it. But if I catch it and I hear just one smack, now at that point, I start focusing on it. It becomes louder and louder with every minute, with every chew, with every smack. It just gets louder and it begins to just irritate me. That's how my footsteps should sound to the devil. Every step I take just should get louder and louder because I'm moving closer and closer into my victory. Every step I take should just get more irritating and more irritating because I'm moving closer to my purpose. Every step I take, the enemy should just begin to hold his ears. He should not be able to stand it because I'm getting closer and closer to God.
Yes, amen.
The sound of your footsteps should be an affront to your enemy.
Right.
He should automatically become offended because there is victory in your footsteps. God will cause you to be victorious if you keep walking. One of the things I like about boxing is the fact that as long as you keep getting up, the fight will continue. As long as you keep getting up, there is no, now sometimes you get 2 days and they'll call the fight, but as long as you keep getting up and you have orientated yourself and you ready to fight again, the fight will continue. And that's how I love the fact that God will not stop your fight just because you fell down. God will not call the fight for the enemy just because you missed your step. God will allow you 10 seconds and he will count them off. And when God sees you stand back up, the fight is still on and you still have an opportunity for victory. That's one thing I love about God is it's never defeat. It's always another opportunity for you to win. And I encourage you right now, even if you feel that you're down for the count, God has not reached 10 yet. I encourage you to get back on your feet and orientate yourself. I encourage you to put your hands back up and say, God, I'm ready to get enemy where he is.
Amen.
Psalm 37:23 says, the Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him.
Amen.
And my prayer today is that God makes firm your footsteps. That means that you do not trip, you do not fall. Makes firm your footsteps. Many of us, we've been skating through life a little bit too long. I don't know, some people are good on skates, but I'm not. I'm not good on anything with wheels. I fell off motorcycles, I fell off skateboards, I fell off skates. I'm just bad with stuff with wheels. Never fell off a car. I guess it's impossible to do that. It's got 4. You're on solid ground, I guess, at that point. But many of us been teeter-tottering. And when you're on skates, when you're on wheels, it's just too much room for error. You can't do things the way you can on solid footing when you're on skates. I know there's a lot of people that are good and that are great actually on rollerblades or skates, and if they see a curve coming, they can jump on it and come on off of it and still roll. But then there's people in the spirit that's just like me. Amen. In the natural on a pair of skates. And when you skating, when your footing is not firm, when you're not solid on the rock, when you're not digging in and every step is intentional on Jesus, and you're kind of just floating through life, and you just everywhere the wind take you, you go, and you're just sliding through, and when the curve of life comes, you have no other alternative but to hit it and fall. And many of us have been doing that for too long. We good when things are good. Because don't get me wrong, you get me in the roller rink, I'm cool, I go around, I'm slow, but I go around it. That's me in the roller rink, I even learned how to do the cross when you get to the little turn, the curve, I do that. It used to be I kick like this and get around. But I learned. I did a little cross now and just keep on going. I'm slow. Can't do nothing fancy. You ain't gonna see me go backwards. You ain't gonna see me turn around. None of the fancy. But I'm gonna be nice and slow and just, just come on around, But when you take me somewhere that has some opposition, don't take me outside where there's a sidewalk with cracks in it. I ain't gonna survive no crack. Just ain't gonna do it. I've tried. You're on roller skates and you going as slow as I go, and you hit a crack, you're gone, you're done. I'm down. And many of us have been skating spiritually, and as long as things are good, all things are put in place, we on a smooth surface. Well, here we go. We having fun. It's all fun and games until there's a crack. It's all fun and games until a 4-year-old falls in front of you on the roller rink. Oh, shoot. Because I pray every time, before I was even Christian, when a child would fall in front of me, boy, I get to pray, Lord Jesus, let that kid get up before I get to him, because I'm about to kill him. Lord, I can't stop on these things, and this child is right in front of me. Lord, please, I'm going to trip over him, or I'm going to hurt him. I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing before I even get to him. Okay. I can't skate. And many of us just like me in the spirit, though. We laughing because that's funny, because, hey, it's funny. But many of us doing the same thing in the spirit. And there's an opposition. There's a child that's fallen. Or there's something that has happened. Or there's people that's skating too fast beside you. And you getting disoriented. And the Bible tells us that we are supposed to keep our mind stayed on Jesus. But it's hard to do that when you're on skates. Because your eyes are focused on, let me not fall. Let me do this. But if you're on solid footing, if you are on your natural territory, when you are solid in Jesus Christ, I can jump over a child all day, lay on the floor, let me jump over. I can do that all day. I'm used to these things. I've been walking on them for too long. I can do anything on my 2 feet. You can do anything when you're planted on Jesus. Yes. That's your sure footing. That's that's your firm foundation. Then there is no, and guess what? Then you don't have to go slow. I can go as fast as these little legs will take me. You don't have to be cautious so much because you know that Jesus got you. It's not, I'm not skating anymore. I'm intentional with my steps. I'm intentional with where I'm going. I'm not just going through life, but I have a purpose. And I'm sitting, my foundation is sure. I'm standing on the rock that is higher than I. And many of us have forfeited the rock. But today is a change. Today is a new day. Today it's time to get back in the ring. Because I hear the sound of victory in your feet. I hear the sound of victory. I don't care what it looks like. I hear the sound of victory. I don't care what the situation seems like. I hear the sound of victory. I don't care what you thought it was going to be. I hear the sound of victory. And I need you to hear the sound of victory too. I need you to know that everywhere I go, I shall possess. Because my God says that it shall be that way. I need you to know that I am strong and I am courageous. And I can do all things through Jesus Christ who gives me strength. I need you to know that for you, because I can hear the sound of victory all day, but unless you hear it too, you will never walk into it. If you today are saying, well, what's this victory? What is this? What is this everyone's cheering for? I don't understand. And you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and your Savior, I invite you to come at this time. Because those of us that know Jesus, there's no reason for us to keep slipping and sliding. Those of us that know Jesus, we already know there's victory in my sound of my steps. There's victory. I'm about to walk into a camp that's been deserted by the enemy. The enemy thought that he had me, but God has something for them. And I'm about to walk straight in. And where I was hungry, God is about to feed me. Where I was naked, God is about to clothe me. Where I didn't have a dime to my name, the wealth of the wicked is mine to have. I'm about to have everything that God promised me. But all I have to do is keep walking.
Amen. Amen.
And I dare you to keep walking. Stay in step with the Spirit.